Welcome to a brand new episode of The Creator's Alley with our special guest tonight, Justin K. Sweet, Agent Zero on Twitter. What's up, dude?
Hey, what's going on? Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for jumping in. We're having a little bit of a schedule faux pas, trying to work around stuff, and luckily you were able to sneak in when somebody canceled on me this afternoon due to work concerns.
Yeah, happy to be here.
So tell us about you.
Well, let's see. I I was born in Idaho and moved to my parents, who were both in the Air Force, and I was actually born in Mountain Home Air Force Base Hospital. And then when I was about 11 months old, we took this big road trip all the way over here to Tennessee because that's where my dad was from. And I've been, I grew up in Tennessee, joined the Army when I was about 18. Um, and I always joke about it. I joined the Army to see the world, but I haven't left the South yet. So, um, yeah, that was in 99. And then, of course, between 99 and 2003, I served during 9/11 and then got out right before we sent our first, boots to Iraq for the big push to Fallujah. But didn't really see much of anything because I was a signal soldier, cable dog, and the Army was a completely different animal before 9/11, and then it was in transition by the time I was leaving. But yeah, I made the mistake of just joining and not picking a place to go after my training, and so they just kept me there at my training post. So there I was in a what's known as a force comm unit on a TRADOC post. So lots of training, lots of this or that. But yeah, so the military kind of informed, I guess, a lot of my worldview at the time. But it wasn't until I, started college in Augusta, Georgia, where I started actually, uh, kind of down the road of questioning the authority that I've, had always kind of like held uh, dear to me. And so um, my patriotism was starting to kind of wear a little thin, at least in the Warhawk camp. But as the years went on, I got to thinking about certain things. I developed a stronger relationship with my creator, and I guess I now pretty much identify myself as I call myself a sacred humanist, which just simply means that I serve a God, but it's and I just love humanity. Humanity is key, especially in these times where we live in a world that wants to turn us into mindless machines and to dance at every whim that they want. So um, all of that to say this, that I've been a storyteller probably all my life, and so in that I like to tell, I like to engage with uh, narratives that can actually get people to think, as well as examine just why they believe what they believe, so that what they consider true might remain. So,
Oh,
but there's so much. I don't even know where else to go as far as about myself. I mean, I've got I've got between my wife and I, we have 5 children. All but one have left the nest. So, and that's going to be in about another year, and then he's gone, and so then we'll be empty nesters. We have a dog, and I I want to say that my walks with the dog kind of inspired at least a little bit of what would eventually become Chrome Dog for me. In just kind of pondering things and looking up at the stars and whatnot. Um, but yeah, I'm a long time tabletop role playing game enthusiast, as well as a comic book aficionado in a sense. I'm a diehard Punisher fan, have been all my life. And that's another motivating factor for me right now, because I see what they're mainstream is doing with all of these beloved characters, and they're just taking them and breaking them down and making them something else than what they were originally designed to be. And so I'm kind of I've thrown my stake into the ground to kind of say, okay, well, I'm going to be here to make comics fun again, and to bring a level of of enjoyment back to sequential art. And even though you could say I'm kind of new coming back to comic books, I'm no stranger to say running campaigns of role playing games, because and to me I see there's a correlation between the two as far as like understanding the medium and staying in the moment and trying to keep the player, or in this case the reader's attention as we go along. So I see a lot of parallels there, and I definitely want to bring that to the table
Yeah, they both
in my
involve
stories.
good storytelling to keep people interested.
Exactly. Um,
Except
and the
if you pick up a bad comic, you'll just throw down the comic. If you end up picking up a bad
right,
DM, you might just flip the table.
or just never speak to them again. I mean, there's
Yeah, there's
or
that.
the or you have a great DM, but then you have a bad player at the table, and then it's just kind of like what am I even doing with my life? But and it's that kind of in a way, after I finished a 1 year campaign of a space opera game that I was running called Stars Without Number. At least that's the way I was running it. Um, I kind of I was left with just a whole bunch of GM prep and the that empty feeling you get when you're just like, okay, well, I've told the story as best as I could to the players while we were in the game. I didn't hit the beats that I wanted to hit, but and so I kind of, where we ended up is, we played that game for that long, and I've got nothing left to show for it except for the GM prep, and I want to be able to share stories with the world, because otherwise these stories and these moments, they just are going to go with us to the grave. Those sitting around that table, and
Mhm.
so I kind of put my mind into gear and decided I think I'm going to make a start. And I had some other inspiration. We could say Eric July was a big one. I've been following him since 2018. And then fast forward a little bit, he brought up EVS. And I'm like, who's EVS? And so I look up Ethan Van Sciver, and then I'm like, oh, okay. And so as I, kind of get used to the concept of independent comics, outside of the whole Marvel DC paradigm, um, it was a very liberating experience. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I can do this. I can find somebody. I can, I may not be able to draw very well right now, but I'm definitely working on, learning how to do layouts and whatnot. But as far as scripting, that's easy. Like I got that down quick. I'm kind of an editor, writer by nature. So the formatting's fun actually. So,
So let me start by saying thank you for your service,
well,
and
no,
smart enough to get out before you ended up in Iraq.
well,
So
pretty much. Yeah, I hurt my back early on, and then it just eventually, I was basically, when you're in the military and you can't exercise like you're supposed to, the weight kind of comes on, and then eventually, there's a stigma attached with you being overweight and being a soldier. And so they actually, like, there's no, they call it no favorable action. So like I couldn't get promoted. There's certain things that I couldn't do. And limiting factors as far as career goes. So I was just kind of like biding my time, and eventually got med boarded. But it was an honorable discharge and all that jazz. And but yeah, I mean, it was my pleasure. I love serving my country. Matter of fact, one of the dreams I had growing up was to be a postman. And I knew going in the military that all of my military service would count towards being, towards retirement if I were to stay with the Postal Service. And I fulfilled that dream in a way. I didn't stay long enough to retire, but I did stay for a couple of years as a postman. And I like that's probably a quirky thing about me. I love the mail. It's like I'm nerdy about it. Like I'm always asking my wife, it's like, did we check the mail? Because I just love to be able to check the mail and see a letter in there. I don't care if it's a bill or not. It's the coolest thing in the world to me, even to this day. So, but I took that job as a duty because a lot of people don't know this, but you still have to raise your right hand to swear to uphold the Constitution for even being a letter carrier or working in any capacity in the Postal Service. So I took that as a solemn duty, and I did it with a smile on my face. And so many of the people that I worked with, they just, it was just another day, another job for them or whatever. They had bad attitudes and they never saw it as a duty. And but I certainly did. But yeah, it's my pleasure to be able to serve. That's kind of what I'm doing here. Like I feel like I'm serving to entertain folks in the only way I know how.
So, did you ever get any formal training in, writing or art or anything like that?
Yeah, I started college in Augusta State back when it was called that. I don't know what it's called now, but down in Augusta, Georgia. And then I transferred all my credits up to Austin Peay State University in Tennessee, and I graduated with an English degree um, and and a minor in geology. Um, but um, but yeah, I guess if you want to call that formal training, being an English major, you've got classes that are, specifically designed for expository writing, composition, research, pretty much, anything that you need to know to be a competent writer. Um, the only thing that I could say about Augusta State that was different than Austin Peay that kind of disappointed me was Augusta State had a much more rigorous learning like atmosphere in their English
Hmm.
department. They're notorious for having the hardest, most difficult English department in all of the state of Georgia. And so when I come up to Austin Peay, they don't put that level of premium on the English there. So I could what would be able to pass muster at Augusta State, I had to work really hard to earn that A or that B. But when I come up to Austin Peay, it was I could just wing it, and then like the night before, just write something and just get my B and just go on. And I felt like they're doing the students a disservice. But yeah, beyond that, like I haven't actually, outside of writing emails, which is pretty much what I do now. Um, I don't really, I haven't used my degree professionally beyond maybe doing some editing on some drive-through RPG supplements for Genesis role-playing game. The Genesis um, narrative dice system role-playing game. So I mean, that I have those credits there. I am published in student journals, both in at Augusta State and then also in student publications at Augusta State and also at Austin Peay. So, I mean, I don't know if that's anything, but
It's something. You've been published,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and with your major and your minor, you can actually say, "My stories rock."
Right. Yeah, exactly. With authority, I can say that.
Yeah, it's a very nerdy thing to say, but hey,
Hmm. And
now
very
is
punny.
how many books have you done, or is this your first foray into the comics?
This is my first. Yeah. Um, but it's the thing is, I'm coming at it with that uh, world building, like larger than life kind of tenacity. It's like I have a much like larger story to tell, and I have a list of characters that I want to bring out to help show these different aspects and these different things having to do with my the fictional situations that I'm bringing. So this Chrome Dog is just the first of what I hope to be many in this world that I'm building.
And how long have you been developing this IP?
About a year.
That's pretty good because I know some people I've talked to, they've been developing their IP for upwards of 20 years. They started in high school and they just couldn't let it go, and they did stuff on it, and then they decided they didn't like it. As they grew and matured, it's like, that's crap. I got to rewrite it, and it goes from one to the other to the other to the other. And there's been so many books lately that are coming out, and they're a basis, if not already a developed game. And the books are just telling the story around the game, basically like lore for it, like Chris Fisk with Infinitale.
Okay.
He started developing that game when he was in high school.
Okay.
He actually had photos where him and his friends were like play testing it at like the local library because there was no comic shop in town. And then he shelved it and he became a video game creator and writer, and then the books are basically telling the lore. So when he launches the game in a couple of years, that people that have been following along will be familiar with the world and its goings on. And he's actually releasing game cards with like every book. So exclusive, hard to find, which will be hard to find and come across game cards for like everything. And Joseph A. Michael just did another like all ages children, like funny, quirky book that's based kind of like a little like Cartoon Network D&D.
Okay.
And they're looking at launching a tabletop game for that this year, like with nothing extravagant, like game board pieces and cards. And
sure,
because I loved comics in the 90s, not as much as the 70s and 80s, but I loved comics in the 90s with all their quirky gimmicks. And he released a special set of 6 cards, and they were like all special edition, and they were all chromium. So they were shiny. I had to buy them. I forgot what was going on, but I got the shiny cards. And he sent me stickers too, so I was all happy. I was like, "Ooh, stickers!"
Right.
So let's bring this up. Chrome Dog #1, Perfect Strangers. 18 days left. 46 backers. And you already hit goal. You're doing pretty good for somebody that's never had a book before.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I thank big shout out and thanks to Michael Bancroft for kind of giving me a chance to one prove myself by delivering over 100 email signups prior to launch day, but he the night before launch he didn't have he did an impromptu stream, and so he. I recommended, like I was in the chat, I was just paying attention. I was actually first in the chat, I think, for that night, and then also the launch stream, I believe. Maybe I can't remember, but anyway, I recommend. I just kind of threw it in the chat. I'm like, hey, you could read the do a reading of the PDF Ashcan And he remarked, he says, yeah, he says that's a damn good idea. And so he got Hyper Wizard on it, and they both did this dramatic reading through panel by panel of the ash can, and it was such a riot. And there were some people that were in the chat that I know they, one of them even remarked that he, you know, because of that reading, it pushed him over the edge to want to come back to the launch stream and back it the next day. And so thanks to all of that kind of initial push and enthusiasm, and plus the other people that were in my mailing list, we were already like halfway there in the first like that first night.
Nice.
So it was yeah, it was something else for sure. But I'm hustling. I'm trying to get out there and and talk about this book as much as I can. I don't want to put out too many spoilers here and there, but I am I try to give little nuggets to every stream that I'm a part of, just in case someone wants to pay attention and hear a little more, here and there, kind of like peeling back layers of an onion, as it were. But yeah, I mean, I'm super excited, super thrilled to see that it's doing so well so far, and I've got even bigger goals in mind as far as like first, second, third, fourth, and fifth stretch goals and beyond. Who knows? So to me, the sky's the limit. You know, I would love to do so well on this campaign that it fully funds issue number 2,
Yeah.
so that I don't have to do this again for issue 2. I'll just, I could just pick up and take off, and then we're off to the races, because I'm with Arrow Comics now, so we're getting serious about doing some publishing things this year. So 2023 is definitely going to be the year for Arrow.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw the two different like arrow packs on there, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I know most of these books.
Yeah.
So I've known Randy for a few years now, and obviously Luke, and this is I'm fast approaching 300 shows, and this was like
Yeah.
this was like the second stream I started, so I'm a big fan of old comics. So a friend of mine who's by the way down in Georgia, not far from the haunted mental institution that's closed down.
Mm.
Um, and we do a show called Okay Boomer, where we pick a different book or like a trade every week,
Yeah.
and we read the book and then we go through it and give our thoughts on it. And we do golden age, up through copper, and we have a lot of fun, and it gives us an excuse to actually stop for a minute and actually read a comic that week.
Oh,
we
okay.
both have many long boxes of unread books because life gets in the way.
Definitely does.
But I'm glad to be doing this. This is just fun for me, because I mean, I'm in a wheelchair now because I got sick back in 2016, died on the operating table, and then somebody stuck a catheter in me and I woke up.
Well, yeah, that'll do it.
Yep. That was
a hell of a rude awakening, though.
Yeah, I was in a medical coma for about 2 months. So so now I'm in a wheelchair and disabled. But if I could do one thing, being the comic book nerd I am, would be to go to conventions all the time and hang out in Artist Alley talking to people. This way I can do that, but I don't have to put pants and shoes on.
Right. And we don't have to know that.
Oh, 'cause I've got problems. I've got problems with my legs all the time now, so I just wear like gym shorts like all the time. So
Sure.
even if it's, aren't you cold? No. Why not? I go, because I've got diabetic neuropathy from my knees down to my toes. I can't feel nothing.
Mm.
So let's take a look at this. This is the Aaron Lopresti variant cover.
Correct.
And
Correct. Now,
are you still deciding
that's
on
a
the colors?
yeah. Well, he is.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, he sent me this, and he said that he wants to kind of noodle on it for a while. So he may be revising the colors a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's yeah, but hey, even if he doesn't change a thing, this is amazing. So,
Yeah.
and it's amazing to be able to have him be a part of our project. So that's another big shout out because I definitely owe being able to him coming on board to do this cover for me. I think that's helped push the book to the forefront as well.
No, yeah, it's a great battle scene on the cover too.
Yeah. Yeah, and it perfectly captures exactly what I was looking for the alternate cover, because I the standard cover, it has a different tone to kind of, because I'm introducing this world, but I knew that if I wanted to do a variant cover, that I want it to be like dynamic. I wanted to have, this scene where, it's no holds barred. You got these two heavies, Seether and Chrome Dog just throwing down on the deck of this ferry in the middle of this, tumultuous rainstorm, and this is a climactic scene, kind of at the within the pages of the book, and they're not within the pages of the ash can, but it's a very it's a very important scene, and I wanted to highlight it, and who better to try to to get Aaron Lopresti on this, especially just his figure work, his gestures, the the facial um, what am I trying to say? Like the snarling, the growling, the yelling.
The ex-
It's all right here.
his
It's
expressions.
great. Expressions. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, the expressions. Because you don't really get much expression in the ash can, um, for numerous reasons. um, but yeah, it's I'm really pleased.
So we have your featured tier here, the All Nighter bundle, which
Mm-hmm.
is Aaron's cover, Luke Stone's cover, the black and white issue, the line
Yeah,
art
it's a
issue,
black and white. Yeah, the line art only. Yeah.
along with
And then it comes
the two metal prints, one of each cover.
correct. Now, initially, I had the Arrow bundle too as the featured, but I figured that once in order to kind of help us get the push this thing over the edge, I figured. Especially with the Lopresti colors being almost done, so the cover is almost set. Kind of put that at the top.
Yeah, then you can like
So,
edit the.
well, it won't. That's just it. They won't let us edit the photo now that, and I didn't. I gotta, it's live and learn. um, the way Indiegogo works is I can't edit that photo once someone's claimed the perk.
Oh,
So,
okay. But you can
so
add
yeah,
the finished product to the updates.
yeah, exactly. That's what I intend to do. I did an initial update for it when he had the pencils done, and I'm waiting for the colors just so I can dazzle everybody, just like I am.
And speaking of the aforementioned Bancroft, you have the Australian variant.
Right.
Ever
I'm
since
working
I
on
was
that.
talking, I think like beginning of last year, I was talking to Sim about about his book, Tales from the Natverse, and he said he
Mhm.
had like 3 people from Australia order the book, but it was going to be like $70 to ship it. So he was
Well,
it. He
maybe
had to
maybe
go ahead.
go ahead. Well, the shipping for me, like I was able to calculate, like I could do 35 for just the shipping on the floppy
Hmm.
without taking a bath. Um, but yeah. But anyway, go ahead.
He actually forewent the airmail route, which was like the
Mm,
$70, and saved them some money, but it would take longer. And his books got shipped by boat instead.
mhm.
Everybody still got their stuff, but it was about another 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I can save you about $25 if you don't mind it coming by boat and taking another 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe,
Well,
but
I'm hoping. I mean, this may be delusions of grandeur, but I'm hoping that that the comics that I'm looking to provide are going to be a big enough hit worldwide that I can actually get printing distribution in different countries to ease the burden of the shipping.
yeah.
But I know that that's a goal, and I believe that's attainable. But I got to get there first. I'm still small and scrappy, so here we go. Let's do it.
So this first issue was 32 pages, action
Yep.
packed pages, with elements of cyberpunk science fiction, street level justice by you, Justin K. Sweet. And I liked how you described it, with the 4 different genres. Uh, it's a little bit of this and it's a little bit of that, kind of like Luke Cage meets this meets that, and it's right up at the top, and I forgot
Yep.
the bloody words already. I read it like 6 times already. Uh,
Yeah.
Chrome Dog
Yeah.
is Luke
Luke
Cage
Cage
meets
Yeah.
Altered Carbon, and I'm like, ooh, I like that show. With with
Yeah.
a hint of Ninja Turtles and Blade Runner. Well, I can tell you
Yep.
right now, I'm a huge Blade Runner fan, and I really
Yeah.
dug the first season of Altered Carbon. And I
Me
liked
too.
Luke Cage. My friends are
Yeah.
glad that I stopped watching it because they were really sick and tired of hearing me say, "Sweet Christmas."
Sweet Christmas.
He goes, "Would you
Yeah.
just go back to
Yeah.
swearing? This is weird." I'm like,
uh, uh, you want to go out for coffee?
"Yeah, right. What are you gonna do today? I'm gonna go hang out at the barber shop, see what superheroes popping."
Yeah.
So for $15, you got the first shift Luke Stone cover,
Mhm.
and the second shift Aaron Lopresti cover, both for 15
Mhm.
each. And the part-time black and white line art edition is 20. And here we get into the Arrow bundles. Some of these books I know quite well, others uh, not so much. Obviously, I know hybrids,
Yeah.
and I know Only Death Can Save Us quite well.
Right. But that's the only Death Can Save Us cover for Revolt.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's the second Revolt. I've got the first Revolt from when
yep.
he did the crowdfunder, but I don't have that one. I'm like, oh, more stuff, and it also includes issue 1 of Chrome Dog,
Yep.
a book that looks like it's been written for me called The Fool.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that one for sure. And then Soltac in a floppy form. So it's the first portion of the larger graphic novel by Craig White
Nice.
with that's a variant cover as well, as it breaks out.
And I mean, for $40, you get a lot of bang for your buck.
Yeah. Yeah, and if I could highlight that, this is one of the reasons the fulfillment is slated for October, because we have so many moving parts. I want to make sure that everything is good to go before we before we ship. So the hope is that everything's set, everything's good, ready to rock, say August. But I also I would rather under promise and over deliver than have late books.
Yeah, rather,
So
do it that way, and
yeah,
you might have a bunch of surprised, very happy people when there's stuff that
hmm,
wasn't supposed to show up till the end, possibly the end of summer, uh, is there to read like on July 4th weekend
I mean,
or sooner.
hypothetically, sure.
Yeah, hypothetically. And then we have Arrow Bundle One, which is 50 and has even more books. That's got
Yeah.
uh, Hybrids One, my buddy Marv V's book, Sin Killer.
Yes.
I I had 10 copies of that book. I gifted
Well,
I
this
gifted
is the
I this is the one with the Arrow Comics logo on it though, so
yeah. It's going to be the American style, so the sizing is going to be different. Where
yeah.
the
Well,
other version was European.
yeah.
I have a copy of that.
But the versions I have were all American.
Oh, okay.
They were actually printed. The first run he did were from the crowdfunder was actually printed here. Uh, but
Yeah. Well, I
afterwards
guess what
he got with Mike
is
Jimmy
a little different. Like it's yeah, yeah. Gotcha.
and then we have uh, Only Death Can Save Us, issue one,
Hmm.
Herobot, Paragon, Coleco,
Cow. Yeah.
Revolt One, and just
Rift
scroll down and
Riders.
read it, stupid. Right?
Yeah. Rift. Yeah. Rift Riders.
Rift
Which
Riders.
this yeah, folks might notice this is the same bundle that's offered on the Rift Riders campaign. So I just carried it over under the advisement of Randy.
Yeah, because
So
it's never bad to be like, oh, by the way, there's all these other cool indie
yeah,
books from other creators that we think you're gonna like. And the Midnight Shift Pack, which is the Lepresti cover and print for 55. And the
hmm,
Swing Shift Pack, same thing, Luke's cover and metal print.
yep.
Go. Just trying to, and then there you can click here for a preview Ashcan PDF.
Yep.
So
Which that's more than just a preview ashcan. I'm calling it a preview ashcan because it's the first 10 pages of the full 32-page book. So you're getting the actual story. It's a nice, succinct, narrative, and it brings you into the world to kind of like swim around for a while, and then when you get to the end, there's a nice little cliffhanger, um, and it leaves you ready for page 11 through 32. So
so technically this summer you could just flip to page 11 and just continue reading. Or you can read it from the beginning.
right, yeah,
So I got to tell you, when I first saw the little costume here with the
yep.
fox head, cat head, whatever it is, I
Sure.
looked and I go, somebody's made some kind of like robot armor of Top Cat.
Right.
And I'm like,
um,
I know it's
And
not
so what
Betty
it
because it's
is
not blue, so it's like,
yeah. So his day job is dressed up like a mascot, which is called the name is Wally the Wolf, and he's modeled after the wolf. Um, he doesn't look like a wolf. He looks more like a dingo or a fox or some other
mhm.
yellow or orangey animal. But what it is indigenous to a sector nearby or next to Epsilon City is it's the golden prairie wolf, and so that's kind of what that cartoon character was modeled after. And so he's you could say he's his day job um, is looking after people while he's selling trinkets in the amusement park where he works. And in this particular on this particular day, he notices a crime and he decides to go do something about it. But unfortunately, the latch is stuck on the head, so he has
Oh
to deal
man,
with having it on the whole time. So for the for uh, for the hilarity that ensues.
you can see the amusement park, kind of like a wharf thing, like out in,
Yeah, I it, it so Cerulean Park is loosely based on it's basically a larger expanded version of uh, the Santa Monica Pier. So I've always liked that. I like amusement parks. I love rides, and I was just inspired by that. So I thought, if I'm going to make this big mega city that's a cross between Gotham City and Mega City One, I need to, things need to be bigger. So this is a much larger amusement park, and so uh, but also just to point out, this is not Earth. This is a planet that is it actually orbits one of the stars that make up Orion's belt, and there's no spaceships or anything like that. Basically it's stargates. It's kind of how there was a mass transit from people from this planet to that one, but that happened close to 2,000 years before the events of this comic book. So I get a whole new sandbox of a world to create and play with.
now tell us uh, how you came up with your main character here.
So Chrome. Okay, now this is an interesting story. Probably writers out there may or may not be familiar with this type of thing that happens. It's like a phenomenon to me. But what I do is, or what I did, I was creating another character, and I was trying to write a script for that character, and I was, you know, trying to develop uh, the idea of the street justice martial arts kind of character, not too dissimilar from Danny Rand, Iron Fist.
Yep.
And as I'm like creating the scenario where he's going to stop a heist from happening. um I had this name just kind of messing around in my head, like Chrome Dog. I was just thinking Chrome Dog. And so as I'm writing this story, um it's really interesting how this character just kind of like manifested in my imagination as I was writing. And you know, those of you that might be game masters out there, you probably attest to this type of thing. But it just, and so I ran with it. And as I was, working out the scenario panel by panel, and scene by scene, um, this large, heavy, metal werewolf-looking guy who has the powers of, he can hack systems and things. He's, that's part of his job. So he's been dropped off in this parking garage, and he's kind of over at a terminal that's next to the elevator system. That's kind of how he's able to jack in. And so as he's doing his thing, um, the hero that I was, the story was supposed to be about, was coming and trying to stop him from, from carrying out what he was doing. And but he's also, goading him and asking him, basically telling him that he needs to quit working for the bad guys, and come to work for his boss, which is the, this gentleman who's starting his own hero for hire business called uh, what was it, Higher Justice, right? And this Chrome Dog guy, he kind of cocks his head to the side and he looks squarely at that other character, and he says, he's like, well, you need to tell your boss he needs to come off that money, he's got to pay me more, or I'm not going. And so he's still working, doing his thing, in that moment. And this other character is just he winds up trying to crack him upside the head. And next thing you know, they wind up in this tussle, or so he thinks. And Chrome Dog just kind of just knocks him, across the garage, parking garage, through the concrete down below into an awaiting dumpster across the street. And so all of this occurred in my imagination as I'm writing it, and I'm thinking, I don't really care about that other character. I want to know who this Chrome Dog guy is. And it just kind of blossomed from there. I kept trying to force that other character, but I could not, I couldn't get my mind off of this Chrome Dog guy. And so it just kind of developed from that. And I was mainly interested in, like, where did he come from? Like, who is he? And so of course I've developed that stuff that makes him up. And so, yeah, I mean, to those of you out there that know, what Altered Carbon is, or, know something about Blade Runner, I mean, you're going to see different elements, and those are, there may be clues in those IPs that might, kind of give you a sense of what could be going on with this big metal mutt. But yeah, I mean, that was pretty much what the icing on the cake was, is when Luke and I sat down. We sat down to create that other character, and I paid him for his work, and he and I, we worked it out. It was like, he was drawing, it was kind of like he invited me to his StreamYard, but it was private, right? So it wasn't live or anything. And so I'm watching him draw and this and that. And he said, well, what do you think of this? And so we kind of developed that, kind of suggestive or suggestion based character concept creation. And then we kind of move on to Chrome Dog, and I just went ahead and I sent him a write up, and he gives me the initial pencils back, and I wasn't all that thrilled, because he tried to make this Chrome Dog character look too human. He kind of had this Wolfman look, right? And I'm like, no, his head, he needs to be more wolf-like. He needs to look more like a dog. And so before long, we had, after a couple of iterations, we had the look, and it just blew me away. And it blew him away so much that he says, okay, he says, who's going to draw this book? Who do you have in mind for it? I said, I'm not really sure. And he says, well, I'm going to be the one to do the book. I said, you are? He says, yeah. He says, you want me to do this book? I said, okay. And so there you go. And that's pretty much how Chrome Dog was born. And over the span of a weekend getaway, to any of you country fans out there, Loretta Lynn has a little ranch out here in Tennessee, and a dude ranch. And my wife and I, we went out for a weekend to stay in a cabin. And while I was there, I had like no distractions. And I sat down with a notepad and began to craft what would eventually be this first part of the story. And I haven't looked back.
I went up to the coal miner daughter's place and wrote me a comic book.
That's pretty much. Pretty much.
It's like, wow, he knows who she is. Yep. I have to know. I'm old.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's sad that she passed here recently, but
Yeah.
such is life.
And today we lost Raquel Welch.
Yeah, I heard about that.
What a shame. My teenage years are weeping now.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of these folks, I just kind of like, I don't know, when they leave the limelight, I don't know. Sometimes I'll hear someone die and I'm like, well, I thought they died years ago,
Yeah, right?
So yeah.
You get like a lot of that, over the years and be like, oh, that dude was still alive?
Yeah.
How's he
Yeah,
still alive?
exactly.
He's like 98 years old and still working. Well, he wasn't working. He was just, sitting out in the back porch drinking whiskey, and eventually it had to, take its toll.
Yeah.
So, writing wise, who do you like nowadays?
Well, okay. So, if are you saying like books in general, comic books, or does it?
Yeah,
Do you draw a
any
distinction?
books, comic books,
Okay.
whatever you
Yeah.
read, actually. So
Yeah. So comic books, I'm really digging what Aaron Lepresti's doing with Wraith of God. He's got me for as a reader from here on out. I actually want to go back and collect his earlier stuff with Garbage Man and whatnot. I want to try to find that stuff. Um, and if he ever did anything with Wraith in the past, I'd like to try to dig that out. But as far as, let's see, I'm as a like on a as a fluke. Um, I had a kind of just I was killing some time and I decided to go by one of my local Goodwills and looking through their books, and they actually had a copy of Steve Martin, Born Standing Up, and so I'm in the middle of reading his memoir, which is it's very entertaining, and a lot of things in there I can definitely identify. So it's inspirational for sure, especially as someone who is a creator, or creative, as the trendy kids say now, um, you know, crafting and making things, um, narrative. But um, I'm also rereading Simulacron 3 by Daniel Galoy, I think is his name. There was a popular movie. It came out around the same time as The Matrix called 13th Floor. I don't know if you've seen it, but if you haven't, you got to check that movie out. It's so good. The book that it's adapted from uh, is very much more sci-fi because it was I believe it was originally published in 1964 if I'm not mistaken. So there's like flying cars and all kinds of things that you're going to find in that old retro futurism feel in the book. That type of stuff, I think when they went to do the movie, they didn't have the budget for it, so they took other liberties with the screenplay. But yeah, that's a solid book for sure, especially when it comes to cyberpunk. Early, I mean, it was 64. I mean, that's early cyberpunk stuff.
it's so early. It's before I was born.
Nice. Well, they didn't even call it cyberpunk back then. Like we didn't. That term didn't come along until later. But oh my gosh, Philip K. Dick. We'll say it's one of the reasons my name. When I say it's just in case is to kind of almost like a homage to him. But it definitely not because I'm pretentious, because pretentiousness is not, it's not anything that I'm the furthest from it. But the other reason the K is in my name is because there's a very um, renowned artist for, especially he's known for the Song of Ice and Fire uh, book covers, and also lots of Disney concept art. But his name is Justin Sweet. He's a great, phenomenal artist, and definitely someone that I would love to have do something for me at some point, like a cover, or I don't know, something cool. And I don't know the guy, but we share the same name. I don't know what his middle name is, but I figure I'll just throw the K in there just to draw that distinction. Um, but Cormac McCarthy, I need to pick up his new books. I think he's got book. He has a book that has just come out, and then I believe he's got another one in the works. And these are supposedly going to be his last two, because he's getting up there in age as well. But yeah, um, man, I could rattle off even more. I've actually started reading, believe it or not, reading some Anne Rice, um, just because I'm doing some. I've never really been much of a vampire kind of person when it comes to horror and
Hmm.
or things like that. But lately, I've kind of it's intrigued me a little bit. So I want to read some of what other people do with the mythos, and as I kind of like cultivate my own types of vampires, as well as what I'm trying to do with vampire undeath kind of struggle stuff. So yeah, I've been reading some Anne Rice, um, and oh, Legends of Log. I'm reading those. That's the other thing too, is I'm always reading comic books that I study them, right. I'm paying attention to the layout, and I'm trying to pay careful attention to what and like why choices were made for certain shots,
Hmm.
because I want to try to be able to like really visualize the comic, as I'm writing out a script, or at least plotting it. Plotting's first, obviously, and then kind of going in and designing it, panel by panel, because I feel like if I can establish like the layout, um, and it's good enough for Luke, it'll free him up to just do the art on my layouts.
Yeah.
If I can get to the place where I'm that good, to where I know exactly what I want, and it's something that he would say, hey, this is great, let's keep rocking with it, then I mean I think it's gonna cause production to go up as far as speed, because I want more and more story to get out there, whether it's with Chrome Dog. I've got some other ideas for other titles, and I'm also working with some other with another artist, um, on this other project, which maybe we'll get into. But yeah,
So let me ask you quick. The Legend of Log, is that the alternate book?
yes, Legends
Okay.
of Log. Yes, I've got issues 1 through 4. Um, and matter of fact, I gave one. My grandson is he's just now. Let's see, he's just now getting. I think he's. Oh my gosh, he's gonna be 4 this year. And I pulled him to the side the other day because he likes dinosaurs, and so I pulled him to the side. I'm like, hey, come sit over here next to Pappy, and let's crack open this comic book, and I'll read it to you. And so as I'm reading it to him, he's looking at the pictures, and he sees this one. There's this one story in I think it's I want to say it's in that first issue. Yeah, it was. Yeah, the first issue where a T Rex uh, uh, fights a dragon. This dragon picks a fight with the T Rex, and they throw down after the T Rex had already like bit down onto log, like, and so yeah, I'm just yeah, that's the comic, I guess, that I'm reading at the moment.
Because every time somebody
It
says
is
log, all I can think of is that old Ren and Stimpy song.
Brennan. Yeah,
Log,
log, log.
log, log, log,
It's
log,
big,
log.
it's heavy, it's wood.
Yep.
You're gonna need a log. Hmm.
Because my friend
Yes.
Frankie B worked on that book for a little while,
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm familiar with Frankie B. Yeah,
and
been
he
following him
was
on
like,
Twitter for a long time.
I go, so what are you working on now? He goes, oh, I'm working on log. I go,
Yeah.
wait, they're bringing Ren and Stimpy back? And he starts laughing. He's like, no, think of Groot, but more loggy.
Yeah, with a battle axe.
Yeah,
Like,
and with a
how
battle
cool
axe.
is
Yeah,
that? Having this tree giant who's a barbarian with a double edged battle axe, just mowing down creatures as he protects his forest. So I love it. It's so cool.
and just think of the hypocrisy of a tree wielding an
Exactly.
axe.
Exactly. I mean,
Well, I had a
it's
chainsaw,
just
but I
so
broke it on my aunt. Oh, okay.
it writes itself. I mean,
I
it's
know.
great. I love it. It's like this is so cool. And one of the neatest things I've found is that even though it's all black and white, issue number 3, they throw a curveball at us because they put a cover. You get a poster in the middle at the fold, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a 2-sided poster, and that poster is of the cover issue 1 on one side, and then the cover of issue 3, which is the one that you're holding in your hands when you're opening it. And so I gave that poster to my grandson as I gave him my copy of issue number 1, because I've got the blank cover, and eventually I'll get oh my gosh, I forget his name, the original artist. Maybe I can get him to do a sketch cover for me or something.
Oh, cool.
Or I could elicit Frankie B.
Yeah, he's always
So,
up for stuff. I mean,
yeah.
I've turned and Gingy Gingerton did like a an ash can, like a tease for a project that he wants to do uh, with Pedro, and
Mm.
it's basically uh, a Scooby Doo gang, like a bunch of like 5 or 6 different kids, and they go into a
Yeah.
house that's owned by one of the kids' family members that passed away, and they're basically doing like a D&D game in there. And all of a sudden, stuff starts coming to life, and they start getting powers, and they get sucked right into the kind of like into the game. And he had gotten the coolest voiceover guy to do like this like 1980s over the top
Mm.
uh, movie announcer,
Mm.
cartoon narration with a little bit of Stan Lee tossed in uh, to do the trailer. And I'm like, the trailer sold me, and I forgot about it a couple of times. And then he did an update, and I got the update, and I saw that Frankie B designed a patch for it. And I'm
Mm.
like, well, you go. And I DM'd him. I go, you just do a patch for this book? He goes, yeah. I go, that's it. Give me 2 seconds. Ordered the book and the patch, the whole shebang. And he was like,
Nice.
well, I did some sketch cards for Global Frequency for Mavericks. I go, cool. What are they? He goes, oh, it's a big long connected piece with all the different mechs. And I'm like,
Mhm.
and I looked at it and I go, oh, I'd like to have these. Unfortunately, I have not won the lottery today. So
Right.
I I've gone through this because I've been like collecting comics all my life. Uh and there's just stuff that, the mainstream has like thrown me off on a bunch of stuff. So I've been selling like keys to fund my crowdfunding comic book habits. I sold the original Jane Foster's Thor run uh, to another collector who was getting that to trade to somebody else. He was buying it off of me to flip to another guy to get Silver Age books. But that enabled me to buy the big giant collector's box off of Global Frequency and the merch pack, and back like 3 other campaigns. So I'm like, thank you, Marvel, for turning to complete trash so I can sell your stuff and buy bread and books.
Well, there you go.
Now I want to ask your opinion, since we've talked a little bit about stuff from Alterna. What do you think about what just happened, if you've heard, to the new Alterna campaign on Indiegogo?
I haven't really heard much of anything. I'm not like in the loop on that.
So the other day, he got an email from Safety and Security for Indiegogo, or as I know them, the Thought Police. They disapproved of an image for Blood Realm, said it was too violent for Indiegogo. Indiegogo didn't say anything when the creator of Blood Realm used that same image on his campaign less than a year ago and funded. He never got a letter to, that has to be taken down or edited or anything. It was fine then, but now it's problematic.
Right.
I know he's come out and, he did like a video on it, and I just happened to catch it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have heard anything about it.
Yeah, I'm not, of course, I'm all about, any platform being, upfront and honest with their, whoever's going to, put things on there so that, the folks can know what the rules are so they know when they break them or, bend them or whatever. But, it's, I'm not really sure what to say outside that of my campaigns will never have that issue. However, I will also admit that, Indiegogo is, was not my first choice. I would have rather waited for Fund My Comic, which is in the works, but, but I had to make a start somehow, and I figured I'd just go ahead and do it. And then, when Fund My Comic is up and running, then I'll, run a campaign over there if need be. But yeah, I don't know what to. I know that I think Pete did follow up and say that he did whatever they needed him to do, and so they've gotten things back up and going, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think they got back to him right away, like within 3 days of him editing it, because they not only sent him the an Indiegogo version of a Disney cease and desist letter, but they also basically seized all his funds.
Yep. Well, they were playing some kind of game like that with Craig White too, I think, for Soltac. I don't know exactly what that was about, but it was and so that's about the time that Randy reached out to him and said now he's with Arrow. So
yeah, they PayPal basically did the same thing to Eric July. They're like, oh well, we're suspect that you can't be making this much money. This has to be. We're going to seize all your funds.
Right.
And then they started getting phone calls and official letters from his lawyers. So
I mean, that's what we do,
You know, it's just
It's what
the
you have to do.
the gatekeeping.
Yep. And it's a darn shame.
Yeah, it just it's no fun that, on top of like everything else that you have to like go through that, as a creator. There's Top Cat.
Top Cat.
And I thought it was funny that he's basically passing out uh, nanny cam stuffed versions of himself.
That's what I've heard. I mean, that's what people are saying, but they're just stuffed animals. They don't have to have surveillance.
So this is all him doing this then.
Yeah, these are his eyes. We're
Oh, okay.
seeing the mom and the and the daughter through his eyes. Kind of like people have compared it to Terminator vision, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm
Just
like,
like this last panel, this is from his point of view, and that's why things are left kind of vague as far as like what happened, because and I made a specific choice here. I didn't want to follow the action of the two perpetrators as they're trying to do their crime. I wanted to keep it as vague, but have some visual clues so that we can at least see through his eyes and what he's experiencing as he's experiencing it.
yeah. When I first started, I
When
go,
he starts, yeah,
I'm just like,
yeah.
oh my god, he's got high tech nanny cams and the bears, little stuffed animals. I'm like, oh, I want one of those. And right there,
Yeah.
from cute little mascot to
Yeah, pretty much. That's him inside the suit, like Iron Man. You know how in the Iron Man movies
mhm.
they show Robert Downey Jr. inside the suit, or Tony Stark, I guess would be the better way to say it. But yeah, this is that moment, and so we can kind of see him inside.
Physical perks. Better look at Luke's cover.
Yeah. And also just to highlight, if you look peeking behind the logo is one of the moons. So you have two moons of Ringgold. Ringgold's the name of the planet, if I didn't already establish that a while ago. And these two moons, Lux is the blue moon, and then Proximo is the yellow, and so like I wanted to capture the essence of the fact that this is not Earth. So as I deal with cultural themes in my book, I'm free to do with it as I wish. People can't cancel me for for whatever whims that they feel because it's not Earth. So
You can only be canceled if you submit to the cancellation.
true. This is true.
This gave me kind of like an old Scooby Doo "Where Are You" vibe when I first looked at the cover,
Yeah.
because Chrome Dogs
Yeah.
are sitting there, the bright eyes glowing, the kids riding the rides. It's almost like he's waiting for the park to shut down so he can go play.
Well, I mean that's not a unfair assessment. He lives at the park, so it's kind of his Wayne Manor, if you will.
Oh, cool.
And he has another location that's his bat cave, so to speak. So
There's the line art of the Lopresti cover.
yeah, that was the initial sketch, and once we that was just you know I gave him the prompt, and he sent me that, and then plus a couple of others that weren't as rendered as that one. So I knew that he was already kind of feeling this one. But looking at the other two choices, I thought, this one. I mean, this captures everything that I wanted, want in that moment anyway. So um, it looked like he and I were both on the same page.
Yeah. Here's three
So I just said,
sketches,
run with
but
it.
this is the one I'm doing.
Yep. Well, pretty much. I mean, but even I was like, this is the one I want you to do. So,
In the line art edition.
I mean, it's just amazing how you take something that's so pure and just black and white like that, and then can, you know, Edgar Tavitas, who is the colorist for just that cover, he was able to take image and just make it pop with all those cool just lights and everything going on in that cover. It just I'm floored by it.
Yeah, the artist editions have been becoming more and more popular over like the last few years. Like I've been like in the chat on streams where they'll ask the
Yeah.
creator, goes, "Are you going to do a black and white version?" Um, hadn't really, occurred to me to do a black and white version. If enough people are interested in black and white version, uh, I'll do one. How's that? And before you know it, there's like 2,000 comments of people that all want a black and white, version of the book. I'm like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I better look at the.
People want to see the lines. They want to see the little the hashing and hatchwork.
Yeah, they want to study the way it was done and
Mm-hmm.
use it as reference to maybe grow their own art.
Yeah. But yeah, one thing about these is the titles of each perk. The theme is work because that's what Chrome Dog. He has this almost inborn um, propensity to try to. He can't stop. Like he always wants to. He's he keeps moving and keeps going and even though he's making all this money, he's doing it for a certain cause, which we'll get into in the later issues. Um, but but yeah, so he's doing this day job with the mascot, selling the little bears or the little wolves, little wolfie. Was it the cozy buddies? That's what
Mm-hmm.
he's selling those during the day, and then at night, depending on what's going on, he's either running security for for um, a concert, or he's filling in for a guy on a ferry as a ferry attendant, or he's helping to plan and execute a bank heist or an art thief, theft heist, or consulting for the local law enforcement. So like it's pretty much he just works. That's his thing. He's always working. Um, and right here, find is in this first issue, and actually in these first three issues, as we expand, he's trying to deal with this virtual intelligence that's installed in his hardware, and he wants desperately to be shed of her because she's really annoying on so many different levels. But he has incessant insomnia. He has the like he wants to sleep. He has a desire to sleep, just like any other human. And so it's kind of one of those things where is he man? Is he machine? What is he? And so, but there she is. Her name's Sally. She's kind of in his way, so to speak, to try to piece together certain things about who he is and where he came from. But one thing is certain. He knows he's not from here. He recognized that's the one thing. Everything around him is unfamiliar. Even though he has amnesia and he has insomnia, he does not recognize anything in the world that he currently exists in. So, and that's going to be really fun to try to unpack in the coming issues.
Nice. I was like, well, if she's so annoying, it might have been funny if you called her Karen.
Well, that's a little too on the nose.
Yeah, that's a little.
I don't know. Like, yeah, for some reason, the name Sally. I like Sally, and she's gonna have a heck of an origin story at some point in the future, I'm sure.
Now you're on the way to hitting 3,500, so you can unlock the 6 a.m. Comics Chromium Scratch sticker.
Yes, and I can't wait because I love that sticker. And then I can't wait to move on to the next stretch goal because I want to commission a Wally the Wolf sticker, which is the cartoon character. And then I've got the Cedar concept art in the hopper as well. But yeah. I mean, we're not quite funded yet. I mean, we're inching ever so closely to that $2,500 funding goal, but I want to surpass that. I would love to to move well beyond. Now, if you had scrolled down just a little bit further, you'd have seen the creative team.
Oh, I can do that.
So,
if my mouse stops acting silly.
oh no.
Yeah, it was kind of locked on the writing version of the mouse and not the pointy.
Yeah, but it's just below the arrow comics level.
Almost there.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, and so that way, So even though Edgar Tavitas, he knocked it out of the park on the cover, I managed to net Patrick Gamma, which is Luke Stone's colors for Hydras. So, and I mean, he got it right in the first time, man. And who knew? Just reading my script and paying attention to what I'm trying to say when it comes to colors might actually, you can actually get what I'm trying to do.
So you, Luke, Patrick, and this Randy dude.
Yeah. Although Randy is he's just our biggest cheerleader, so to speak. But as we're moving along together as a creative, a collective, if you will, at Arrow, we're kind of becoming more of a active. We have active roles of doing more in the publishing part of it. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading more stuff out of Arrow.
Yeah, Paragon's a lot of fun. That's a great book he wrote. Randy wrote that one. It's solid.
Yeah, I remember when they were doing the first compilation book that they had on crowdfunding. Revolt, yeah.
Yeah.
I opted for one of the options to I can't remember how it was worded, but it was basically toss Randy some extra scratch and he'll unload some of all these comics in his basement to you. And he did.
Here, I actually have a copy of it right here. This is the Indie Vault or the Revolt here. the two different covers.
Oh yeah.
I've got it. I've got the other copy around here somewhere. So because there was 4 covers total. So what you see here, yes, this may be the cover for the Revolt #2, but it's a break. That #2 is just a breakout of breakout floppy of some of the stories that are contained in these pages. So yeah,
Yeah,
exciting
because
stuff.
that was the first time the Sin Killer was in print.
Mm. Yeah, I actually need to read this thing. I've only read the issue #1 because you know, I I've got 4 spinner racks in in some local stores, and so I've stocked it. You know, I basically helped out all the creators at least as much as I could to get them on some spinner racks locally the Long Shots campaign.
Spinnerax.
After, yeah, yeah, they're not doing so hot. Only at the grocery store, and only certain alternate titles are selling big time there. The rest of them are kind of sitting, and I blame it on lack of a dynamic cover. I feel like you got to have a cover that just sells the book.
Yeah, you can't just have a mid cover, as the kids say nowadays.
Yep.
I only know some of these expressions because I have a 14-year-old daughter who on occasion will actually speak to me on her telephone. Those occasions would be birthday and Christmas. The rest of the time, it's just text messages that I wait days to hear back from.
Yeah.
But
Totally.
yeah, it's all well and fun. At some point, like in another 15 years, she'll actually start calling me the teenage years. I try not to think about mine because I don't have bail money, so I'm like, don't do what your father did. What did you used to do? I'm not telling you because it's the way this world is today. Our government thinks 1984 is a manual, not just a piece of literature. So
that's true. That's absolutely true.
Give them no ideas. So the link for the Indiegogo is in the chat. It's also in the description, either up above or down below, depending on where you're watching us. It will also be that link will also be in the description for the podcast. If you like, you can follow us anywhere you can get a podcast. Just search for Creators Outlet, and you can either download them or just follow them and listen to them on whichever app you choose. But if you hit the See More button down towards the bottom, it'll open up and you'll get a link for the book. I'll sneak in your YouTube channel in there, and then my link tree will be down the bottom with a whole bunch of indie comic hashtags. So hopefully you check out the podcast. If you do, please leave 5 stars. That's the appropriate number of stars. And say something nice in a little bit of, a 30-second thing. It doesn't matter what it is, good or bad. I can take it. I'm a big boy. And it'll help get the word out. The more reviews we get, helps get the word out, and it'll come up in more people's feeds that way too. But I want to thank Justin for coming on and talking all things Arrow comics. I can say that because this is one of them. It's been fun and interesting, and we wish you luck in the next 18 days to pass fully funded and get that 6 a.m. sticker out there and reach more people. I'll keep sharing it out, and we'll keep talking about it, and hopefully more and more people will see this and connect with you and follow you on social media. So we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to get this uploaded, and we will talk to you soon. Very interesting character. I like the Wolves. One of my favorite characters from Legion of Superheroes, Timberwolf. So thank you very much. Everybody have a great night. And for goodness sake, read a comic book, would you?